So a little while ago, somebody asked me to take this video that I made a while ago and kind of explain what the heck was going on. This is my powerless kill. This is when I went to the flagship and beat it with only 2 power in my reactor. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about what happened here, how I did it, what's special, um, mistakes I made. So first of all, I'm doing it on easy with advanced edition enabled. I feel like the difficulty doesn't make that big of a difference because the difficult part is killing the flagship, and the flagship really isn't that different between normal and easy. On hard, you've got the connected rooms so they can repair. Um, but even then, depending on how you fight the flagship, that doesn't make a huge difference. So easy it is. That basically lets you kind of hit every store with tons of scrap and build a ship to be whatever you want to be. You could do it on normal. You'd need to get lucky. Um, it would basically mean you just have to take like twice as many attempts to get it to work. Here's the ship. You can see what I've got. Tons of systems. Can't use most of them. Decent crew. 7 Zoltan. You really need that for this challenge. And my augments. The Zoltan shield, of course. Battery charger is good for this. And an automated reloader. A pre-igniter would also be nice instead of the reloader or the battery charger, but this is a pretty good setup. I've also got a hull repair drone, so I can repair to full between phases. I also have 27 drone parts. That's important. You want tons of drone parts, tons of missiles to get here and make it work. You can see my setup. It's a little weird. I've got 2 bombs, a charge ion, and a flak. The charge ion really did most of the work getting to the flagship. It strip shields for the flak and beams to rip ships apart. The bombs I didn't use much. The drones I tried not to use as much as I could, and that's why I have so many parts left over. I probably could have done it a little better with maybe a heavy laser instead of the flak, or maybe another weapon in the hold. The idea behind this build is I want to kill the crew of the flagship. That's what the bombs are for. The bombs are really the most power-friendly way to do it. I took a lot of attempts. Some attempts I had things like Pegasus missiles. I had one attempt where I tried to use boarding. I had 2 Mantis for boarders. And this is the one that really worked the best. Very power-friendly. You could also do this with maybe a breach bomb instead of the small bomb, or a breach bomb instead of the charge ion. I tried to use the charge ion on the flagship fight, which was really a mistake. It didn't really do a whole lot, but you'll see that in a little bit. So first of all, fighting the flagship, it's a little luck dependent where the hacking drone lands. I had one attempt where it landed in oxygen, and I thought I could deal with it, but I didn't have the power to spare. So I ended up asphyxiating and dying. Here, the hacking drone ends up landing. You'll see it as soon as the Zoltan shield pops. I probably jumped the gun on this. It lands in the clone bay, which really doesn't do anything. Nobody dies in this phase. I start off my targets for bombing the flagship. I start in cloaking. I was maybe a little premature in bombing cloaking. The idea is you want to take control of the fight and not have periods of time where you can't do anything, which is when it cloaks. So you want to get rid of that so that you are always charging your weapons and always doing something to the flagship. And of course missiles, because the missiles suck. I got lucky with the missiles. Firebomb, I had 2 fire starts, so that guy's not going to be able to put them out. He's probably going to die. I also popped the battery right off the bat. So here's the hacking drone about to go, and it lands in the clone bay. I noticed my shields go completely down, so I send one guy over. I've got 1 shield bar pretty much for the rest of the fight at this point. I fire another bomb, take out the missiles, just make sure they're gone and that guy doesn't put that second fire out. You can see me wailing away with the charge ion. That's not doing anything. I would have had a lot more. It would have been a lot better if I had moved one of the Zoltans out of weapons and turned the charge ion off. That would have been 2 power spared. So there, you can see I set up the to get rid of cloaking. I do the system bomb and then the fire bomb. So that one guy's at low health, and then I follow it up straight up with a mind control. So the idea there is to prevent the guys from putting the fires out by having somebody to fight in that room instead of actually taking care of the fires. I don't do a very good job of that. I should have waited for another guy to walk in, but it ended up being very lucky because the fire spreads very quickly to 4 squares and they exit the room. At this point, I have a choice. I can either go for the medbay or continue trying to disable weapons, and I opt to go for the medbay. In hindsight, that was probably a mistake. I probably should have continued to call the weapons, and then I make another mistake in that I don't focus fire. I the next 2 bombs I send go into the the laser, not the laser, the beam, and then I also mind control into the beam. So without the mind control to prevent repair, they get the medbay back up, and I end up wasting a lot of time and a lot of bombs trying to take care of that medbay. So after a while, I decided, screw this, we're not going to worry about the medbay anymore. I start working on shields. So the idea behind shields, I get a good mind control off again, is to open them up so I can start doing some work with my flak. And also it makes it so they enter the medbay at low health so I can snipe them with a bomb. I try to do it there, but I'm too slow. I fire 2 bombs right at the same time, and between the fire in the medbay and the fire in shields, I end up getting the entire crew to low health. At this point, I turn the flak cannon on and start just manually hitting rooms to kill whoever's left. I also do a little bit of work at the ion, but honestly that was probably not necessary. All throughout this, my oxygen's steadily draining because I'm really not worrying about it too much. When I have the battery going, I spend a little spare power to get the oxygen back online and fill it back up a little bit. I'm not too worried about my hull. I have 27 drone parts in the hull repair, so regardless of any damage I take in phase 1, I'm going to be able to heal it back up. It's only really a concern if I run out of drone parts, and I don't see that happening. At the same time, uh, hull's only concern if you are in danger of losing all of it in one phase. And in phase 1, that's not going to happen. Unless something terrible happens, like they hack shields or something like that. I also turn the beam drones on. The purpose of the beam drones in this whole run is to do a lot of damage really fast, but I end up not really needing them, so I waste 2 drones on that. After this, it's just repair up, get the oxygen back, and get ready to go. I use the Zoltans to power the drones at this point, just because I don't have any power to do anything else with. Once oxygen's back to full, I make the jump. I figured that the flagship is going to take out my Zoltan shield very fast with the drones, so I don't even worry about engines. I put enough guys in shields to have 2 bars and start the fight. The idea behind this fight, I steadily bomb shields while putting firebombs in systems I want to disable. That would be the uh, drones, the missiles, and the beam. And once that's done, the shield is completely down and I can just pop the drones and finish them off. I get lucky with the drone placement. The boarding drone, it ends up in doors, which is not really going to do anything important. Here I get unlucky. The flagship pops in for 1 damage to the backup battery and then again to take it out completely. I was a little slow with popping the battery in the first place. I thought I could hold it off a little bit, but it turns out I couldn't. So I start with too little power, and then they end up taking my battery out, which really sucks. I do a 2-power cloak. Do I do a 2-power cloak? Yes, I do a 2-power cloak to I figure since I'm firing weapons, it's going to go out. The timing's a little bad, so it ends up going a little bit too long, and it's not going to be ready for the next one. I also don't move my pilot out of piloting fast enough. I should have immediately vented and moved him out of there because he's not going to be able to put out that double fire by himself. I end up going without piloting for a good bit. It ends up just being a damage race. I completely disregard all the damage I'm taking. I get both the drones up and pop shields as high as I can to tank the damage. And phase 2 is done. Even after repairing all of that damage, I still have 13 drone parts left, so I'm fine for the final phase. I spent a little bit of time trying to decide which weapons I need to have online. The right answer is the Charge Ion, the Flak, and both beams. I don't think I end up setting it up correctly. Yeah, so I think here I'm realizing that I have my weapons set up poorly. So I get the beams online, and I start firing away at shields. Ignore the steam pop-ups, please. So I get unlucky in this phase as well with the placement of the first couple volleys of things. They end up just hammering into piloting over and over again, and it ends up going south pretty quickly. So here the Zoltan shield goes down. I move the guys back to get my weapons online. I need to firebomb the missiles. I need to firebomb the shields. I need to firebomb the cloaking. Or not cloaking, the mind control. So the first oxygen breach happens. Oxygen ends up going bad really quick. I should not have the charge ion online. That's a mistake. I should have the firebomb and the small bomb online. My thought here was I was going to ion down the shields, but then what am I going to do? Am I going to move power back over to get the flak or the beams online? There's just really not enough to spare. So I should have just focused on disabling the flagship instead of trying to get all fancy with the ions. So oxygen goes down completely with 2 breaches. Zero chance of me getting that back online. Mind control goes down, so I have nothing to deal with the that guy right there attacking shields. I have enough buffer that I can just ignore it. I need to repair the backup battery, so I send one guy to do that. At this point, everything's offline that needs to be offline. The shields are going to burn real quick. Missiles is down. Mind control is not going to last much longer. So I switch over, I take the firebomb offline, and I start fighting again. Mind control is taking damage. It's down to level 2, so the guy's not as dangerous as he might have been. Plus it wears off soon. Here's another mistake. I should have had the beam drones online faster. At this point, there's no reason to keep the charge ion online because the shields are completely broken. I should have moved 2 over to the drones, but I did not. Piloting gets hit again. There's a fire. I deal with it much quicker this time. That's generally how quick you want to deal with fires. You can see almost immediately as soon as I get hit, I move the guy out. I move him to drones to try to repair it because I really want to get that second drone online. I still have people just chilling out in weapons that don't need to be there. Here I try to move my shields back online for some reason, but they're not going to come up in time to stop the blast. I think I wanted to have them up for the power surge, but it ends up that the power surge is the shield, but it doesn't matter because the flak gets in for the kill. I think I would have gotten the kill anyway, even if the shield had come back up. I would have had both of my beam drones going, and their teleporter room was on fire and not broken. So that would have done 1 extra hull damage and probably would have killed it before the next volley happened. And that's it. So my biggest mistakes here were really the fact that I had the charge ion online when I shouldn't have. I kept bombs online too long in the final phase. Didn't have bombs online when I needed to. I ended up getting pretty lucky in a couple of regards. I got lucky where the hacking landed. I got lucky where the boarding drone landed. Um, I got a little unlucky in the final phase with oxygen and piloting getting hit so hard, but it ended up working out all right. I think the setup would have probably been a little bit better, maybe with like a pre-igniter, but I think the automated reloader, the fight took long enough that the automated reloader might have actually been the better pick in the long run. The battery charger, I had done some attempts on this without the battery charger and with the battery charger, and it's kind of up in the air. It's really hard to tell if it makes a difference or not. It might be more significant than I'm giving it credit for. Maybe it would have been better to have a pre-igniter instead of the battery backup, but who knows. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. That's what happened. That's my thought process behind it and what I was doing and why I did the things I did. I hope that's kind of impressive and that people find this interesting. I do challenges all the time, and I'm always looking for new things to do. So if you have an idea for something you think might be cool and challenging and difficult and interesting's always fun. Just let me know, and I'll see what I can do for you. All right, see ya.